Yes. You're welcome to stay.
Could stay for AVT core.
Yeah.
Really interesting, but I'm pretty sure I'd get flacked.
We okay. So welcome everyone to AVT Core. We'll get started now. We're not in a hurry, so I will take it slowly and ensure that the people who wants to leave now have a chance to leave. So, well. So yes, I'm Magnus Westlund. This is Ron Eben. So the note wall, yeah, you should have seen it before. If you haven't, read it. It does apply to this meeting group. So the agenda. So we have a very light agenda and a very long slot, unnecessary long slot. But we'll spend some time on the AVT Core working group status, and then we'll have one technical topic around general mechanisms for RTP header extensions update. So as you see, there's plenty of space if somebody has something to bring up. And as an announcement for the next meeting, we're planning to go down to 1 hour slot. So if you actually have new topics or anything that you think will consume a bit of some time, please bring it to the chair's attention early enough when it comes closer to the meeting, because if we actually need to upsize our request. So and depending on what's happened, we might even need to cancel the meetings in the future. So unless we have something, it's actually worth discussing. So yeah. Do you have something on the around the agenda, or?
Just something to add to the
What? Sorry.
I just wanted to mention that PERC added the EKT milestone.
Okay.
So we need to pull it off of here, I guess.
Yeah, we have it in the status slide. So.
I'm Ben Campbell.
Yes, thank you, Ben. So document status. Since last time, we had gotten 2 RFC published. The RFC 7667, the topology update, and the SRTP AES GCM algorithm. So good that we get something published. We currently have 3 documents in the RFC queue. And this actually is not correct. It's all 3 documents are currently in the misref. They put it back, the middle document, the RTP multi-stream, into misref on request of the authors, and that also informed about the mailing list. The intention here is really that we have informational references to the optimization document, but it really is so important, I think, to have an RFC reference for the optimization in the multi-stream document. So we are holding it off the publication until we get optimizations also can be published. And when you're holding off that, you could as well hold off the multimedia RTP session also gets in the same cluster. So the intention here is that all three of those documents will come out when their misref is resolved, which it will basically depend on bundle and the SDS and the SDP maxing classes. That's kind of what holds this up. So we have two documents in ISG processing. The draft IETF95-AVTCORE RTP circuit breakers is on the ISG agenda the 5th of May. And I will let Ronny speak about ARIA.
Okay, about ARIA, we split based on the document was in IETF last call, and based on the comments that we had, we split the document. They split the document into two documents. The first one, which was the original one, is draft IETF-AVTCORE ARIA SRTP09, and it's still there in the ISG state. And from our perspective, it's addressed the issue about making it an informational RFC and taking out the DTLS, with the SDS, which required standard action in order to register. So this one can continue in the ISG. There's no reason to stop it to go to publication. The other document, which is draft IETF-AVTCORE ARIA SDS01, is a standard track document, and what it does, it registered the crypto suite for SDS. The reason it's a standard track has to do with what is the policy for registering inside the SDS registry, which is weird because the DTLS and MyKey have a document required, or what's called it, specification required, and not the standard track document. That's why it's informational. So our proposal to go with that is to make a working group last call and send it to publication, because we don't see any reason to hold it, and we don't think it's a major issue. It's just a registration procedure, and there's no reason, and the only reason it is a standard track because that's the requirement in order to register. And we cannot say that we don't want a standard document where the requirement is to have a standard document, because that's a contradiction between the requirement and what you can do, how you can register there.
So then we have some documents that's currently working group documents that's ongoing work on, but not otherwise presented in the agenda. The multiplexing scheme update for SRTP extension for the TLS went through working group last call, which was joined with TLS, and we got some feedback on that. And they didn't like that we restarted things in the registry. And the other aspect they actually brought up is that in their work for DTLS 1.3, what's going to be in the first byte of the DTLS packet is most likely not going to be the same information that's currently in the DTLS 1.2. So what we're saying here, that may not apply for the future. So there needs to be some addressing. We were waiting text proposals or getting text together here for this document to update this. And the intention with the TLS content type registry is to probably put in a note warning about this. So rather than doing reservations in the registries. So we will see some text on the mailing list or in a new updated draft, hopefully within a week or so. But it depends on the authors, but in the near time. The multiple of RTP was updated, and it needs reviews. We have a milestone for finishing it in the fall, and this is an experimental specification, but it would be good to get some eyes and reviews on it. Anyone who wants to commit to reading it? Doesn't look like that. Okay, we'll see if we can get some reviews helpful anyway, but let's see. Yeah. So the next document, guidelines for using multiplexing features of RTP to support multiple media streams. Yes, it's expired, and I'm to blame. We discussed this document back in Yokohama, and the plan was to actually have an update of the document for this meeting. Unfortunately, I got the first task of doing some major restructuring of it and slim it down, being more focused, and I failed to get that rolling. So I have it still on so we'll continue to try to get it done within in the not too distant future, the next month or so, to start getting somewhere on this document. I still think there's a need for this document, but yes, encrypted key transport. So PERC working group has a need for AQT, and so it was proposed that PERC take this work, and as Ben reported, he's created a milestone for them, which means that we can kill off our milestone, I assume. So yeah.
Richard Barnes. Yeah, I was just going to note that PERC is just going to take on the stuff that PERC needs, so the base and the DTLS and CRTP. So we are not going to do the Mikey and SDS stuff. So
yeah,
if you guys just drop yours, we'll be losing that, but I don't get the sense that we're really losing much.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very good point. I should have brought it up before. It's yeah, the plan for restructuring here, and it might be if people have needs for trying to use AKT with either micro or secure descriptions, please raise this on the list. You should send a mail to the list also about this, because otherwise I think if nobody has interest in that particular problem, we can kill the milestone and not have to address it for a moment. And then people can argue at any point that if they want to revive that work. So the current editor is John Mattsson. So, but
He's not here. So.
No. But
that's something to consult with him also, if he wants to.
Yeah. Well. So yeah. Well. That's the plan. We will inform the mailing list also, and then we'll see if somebody actually has any need. Okay. So our milestones. So we have a very old milestone for the AKT, which we will now get rid of, hopefully. Anyway, it needs a structure. Relate on the submit multiplexing scheme updates, but hopefully that's actually making progress. So even if we're a year late, at least we're getting very close to getting to ISG and being able to mark this milestone as done. We marked the so the circuit breakers we marked very recently, but it's been submitted a bit back. And so what we have next is December, this September deadline for our milestone for submitting update of the general mechanism for RTP header extensions. And then we have in November the multiplexing guidelines and multipath RTP. So that's our three really remaining current work items. So any comments on the milestones? Yeah. So before this meeting, I also took the chance to look through our erratas. Yeah.
Just one process question on this.
Yeah.
Clearly, on the slide you're just on. Clearly, had this document been presented after the AVT split, it would have gone in payload. So I would have thought that payload would handle these errata, not AVT core.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I screwed up. I was the intention here to actually send that to CC payload, but I probably should forward that's the call to payload also. Yeah. So
I think one of the thing we bring it here because we don't have a payload session, and most of the people who will go to payload are also here. So it was not, it's true that it has to go to the payload list also, this message, but we wanted to discuss it here because we have the opportunity to bring it forward.
One moment. Yeah. So yes, so we have three. So then anyway, there are three erratas related to the AMR and AMR wide with payload formats. They all been discussed and come from the 3DP-PSC4, and I have to blame it that we have been having them languishing. They're almost a year old, but basically the intention here is, I mean, the 3DP-PSC4 is the kind of one of the major specifications, having one of the major specifications using the payload format, and they actually have quite a lot of experience in having to deal with the actual interoperability questions that's been raised around the payload format. So the feedback here is really clarifying issues they have seen and had to discuss among themselves. So and they do fit their erratas on trying to verify what the intention is. So the suggestion and proposal here is to approve them as being verified, or suggest to Ben that he verifies them. The next one is an errata for RFC 3611, the RTCP-XR specification. In this one, it's on one particular measurement where it's actually a miscalculation or editorial error. But due to this being an example, I think the easiest way of dealing with this is actually to verify it so nobody gets confused about it.
There already was a message from Alan Clark, who was one of the authors, who verified that this is really an error.
Yeah, and then we have another errata on the SRTP specification, and this is an example. This I really classify as editorial. I don't think it's gonna have any risk of causing interoperability issues. Therefore, I do recommend it from being held for document update. But it's correct in its sense that the field is not correctly aligned. So. Then we have two erratas on RTP clock source signaling. One is on the ABNF and example inconsistency. So, and this been discussed earlier on and during the fall, etc. And the consensus on the main list was actually to change the ABNF towards the examples because the implementations actually do that rather than following the ABNF. So we're being pragmatic here and actually doing what the examples indicates and what people implemented here is the proposal. I sent some requests for, or saying update. The errata, however, needs to be updated before it gets approved or verified. So I don't know if you want to, how Ben best wants to deal with it. I think you can edit it and then verify it. Yeah.
This is Ben. Most of what's going by, I think, are no-brainers. I'll just follow the recommendation. This one I need to look at.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'll look at it.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, you have open calls on this lasting, I think, until the 18th of April. So you have time to get back from the IETF and wait a week. So there also clarification on the rate modifier. It's very, I would say, rather minor, but it's the author supports the verification of it, and it is making the spec slightly clearer. So so that's the erratas, and hopefully we'll get rid of the erratas that exist towards AVT and AVT Corp this way. So okay. Anything more on the working group level for the moment on the status? Any questions? Okay, Ronnie, go ahead with a general RTP header extension update. Yeah. You don't want this one?
This one works.
I think so. If you plug it in, if you dare, if you plug it in, you can
Plug it.
in a USB port. So. If it doesn't work, give it some time, otherwise I can flip. Yeah. We should plug it in earlier.
Okay, the general mechanism for RTP header extension. This is a BIS draft. Next slide. So from the last IETF meeting, now it's a working group document. We had clarification on the usage of RTP header extension, which says that header extension may be important for interoperability and intermediaries should not remove them. This was to update, that was a comment from Jonathan, I think, at the time, and we updated it accordingly. And we added text to the security section to reference RFC 16904, which also was not there when they wrote where 5285 came in RFC. And that's the one about the RTP header extension encryption. And that's also a comment from Jonathan, and the text is there. Next slide. The major change in the document was to allow mixing of single byte and double byte RTP headers in the same RTP stream, and to define an SDP attribute allowing negotiation of this mode for backward interoperability with RFC 5285. And that was done in the first revision of the document. Next slide. So the next step, Colin wrote a long list of editorial changes, mostly editorial changes, mostly has to do with 2119 language that needs to be fixed in the document. There was a comment about that we need to clarify the text in section 4.1 addressing implication on RTP header compression. This comment came from Steve Kastner, right?
Yeah.
And we will add some text explaining the issue with the X bit that may toggle instead of being rarely changed as specified in RFC 5225. And that's a problem, because before it looked like it's fixed, but because header extension may come and go, they're not going to. Some of them just appear for a short period of time. It makes a big difference on the header compression, and we'll have a new version after the meeting that will be ready for last call with all the changes that we need to do here based on the comments so far. And as you can see, there were reviews of the document, so we feel that it will be in a good shape. So at least we got from Jonathan, from Colin, and from Steve Kastner, and thank you for everybody that did review the document.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see a reason to, if unless people have new issues with the document, we're gonna continue to progress this and getting it done, because I think the main part here was really to ensure that we had this clarification around 1 and 2 byte header type values for the header extension. So
I think it's be good for people to review this document, because in the past the header extension were not used very much. So we didn't care much. I mean, so the document may have some other issues. So if people who are writing or want to use header extension, they should look at it, because this is the framework for doing header extension, and it becomes used more than before.
You had anything more? No? Okay. So, anyone who has any other issues they want to discuss in AVT Core? Anything to bring up? Yeah.
One idea I would not bring it up here except that we have so much time.
Yeah.
So I've been sort of vaguely pondering, and this actually came up in some of the stuff when Ronnie and I were finishing our Clue RTP usage document. So one of the requirements that we had in the Clue RTP usage document was for this case where I guess probably clearest to put it in bundle terms. If you've got a bundled session and you want to use one stream for two different, effectively M lines. The use case for temporarily. The use case here in Clue or other cases is where you've got one stream that's a static view of a specific person, another view that's a dynamic view of changing participant dynamically during the time when that person is actually speaking. You only want to send one copy of their media rather than two. And actually, on top, in both for optimization reasons and also it occurred to me later, like in a PERC type scenario where you can't rewrite SSRCs, you might not be able to send two copies of the same media. So my thought for how to do this. I mean, there's obviously, it doesn't have to be an AVT core level solution because MID is a MMusic document. But one of my thoughts was that you actually have a way in AVT to define that a particular SDS item has two values simultaneously. And syntactically, that's easy in RTCP and the header extensions. It actually just gets into an area that's not well defined in RFC3550. So you'd have to negotiate that you support it, but I was wondering if people are interested in this, both the use case of sending multiple streams, sending one copy of media for multiple higher level purposes, and two, whether they think that doing it as a multi-valued SDS items is the right solution. If people agree with it, I can write it up. If people think this would be a huge pain in the ass to rewrite their decoding stacks, which is things like that. And some of the browser people, it's like, I have to rewrite my entire demux to have if this is multi-valued rather than single-valued. So I was just wondering what people thought and if this is worth pursuing. One of the browser guys got sort of a scrunched up look on his face when I talked about it and said, "Oh God, I don't want to have to rewrite my whole browser stack." But might have been Peter. So I just wondering, do people think it's something that would be worth my bringing to Berlin, or should I just say, don't worry about it?
Basically, that was part of the requirements in Clue, and since we figure out that we don't have any solution for that, so in order to finish the document, we just took it out for the moment. But we believe it's a viable thing to have.
And again, sort of the thing that occurred to me is, it's sort of a, if you're able to duplicate media, it's sort of a minor optimization. Where it actually becomes an issue is if you're doing PERC, because you can't really duplicate media, I don't think, unless I'm confused. Because we're not rewriting SSRC.
No, yeah, if you mean that the MDD should duplicate the stream, that's...
Yeah, the MDD would have to be sending two copies of the stream, one for the purpose of the...
No, that's not possible.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why. So if you do have this, maybe it's a sort of, it's not a, having simultaneous static or dynamic views is not the most common use case, but I think that the case I've seen is, I'm in a sales meeting and no matter who's talking, I want to see the customer's reaction, or, I'm in a, conference, I need to see what my boss's reaction to whatever anybody's saying so I can agree with them. This is more common in certain cultures than others. So, yeah, and obviously, doing it as a, actually changing or defining semantics for a currently undefined thing in RTP is not the only solution. encode it into the mid, or have an M mid for multiple mid that actually has syntax inside the list or whatever. But just wondering what people thought.
So Colin Perkins' comment is to you, Jonathan, on that it seems like we need to understand the requirements better before we can comment on and evaluate the suggested solution.
Probably then what I should do is send an email to the list describing the use case, and
the use case,
and see what people think, and then possibly also MMusic, since bundle is an MMusic thing. So.
because it's an application level requirement that requires something from the RTP, how to do it in RTP. That's where it starts from.
Okay. Anyone have anything else? Then we are in 3, 2, 1, finished. So let's see if we see each other in Berlin, or if it doesn't have anything on the agenda to discuss. So.
Okay. The blue sheets. Bo is the note. Bo and Magnus also. So. This was here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Today is April
The 6th, isn't it? My arm watch says 6.
6. Okay.
Okay.
Want me to give it? You want to give it? You go. Oh, it's here.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Thank you.
Oopsie.
I guess it's too long since I answered the day with Dr. Tool. I guess, can you edit it?
I think I can.
Yeah.
Worst case, we can
Heal it. Yeah. Well, I think you should do it.
Now, the question I have is, this really a bug in the sense that the RFP is not as intended, or in the situation where we were in the city that that was a bad idea, we should do it. Because the bug is not the second one. Right?
No, well, it's just separation. I mean, in some sense, we are in the we want to say yes, because it is isolating to do. If we ask and correctly this, the examples are good as they
Well, the fact that they're different implies that there's a bug in the specification.
Yes.
Surely the authors did not intend for it to be different.
Yes.
So that's a good enough argument for me that if it's not too complicated, it's a patch.
No, I mean, it's basically replacing it. I mean, it's certain part of the slide, constructs that is replaced by
I think I can edit a little about it, but I haven't done one. We'll have to do it.
Well, I mean, I think the point with my suggestion to you was that you would edit soon based on
Yes.
and then you don't verify it. Yeah, we can, the authors and I look at it, that your office says, we send them down it to the office. Just to verify that sender ended up with the system.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Let
just,
me go look and see what I can.
yeah.
It's under ABS.
Yeah.
Not ABS.
Actually, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Second,
Yes, I'm actually looking at it. Let me go check it. It's like stuck in a string to write up needed state that I think it was business. Yeah, I think it means I have to put in the balance and the number of text.